do I reduce emotions in the individuals trading? I, I wish that was the case, but what I've learned over the years is that regardless of what people might say about a trader being an iceman, about being absolutely ice cold, sort of blood in the veins, it's blue blood from being so ice cold. Generally, from my experience, it just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't allow. We're a big bag of chemicals, okay, and so those emotions are always in play. I think what it is what I try to do is to help individuals raise their awareness of their emotions, okay, and there's ways that can be done. It's a question of raising their awareness about what emotions they're experiencing, during a trade, if they're watching the kind of the ebb and flow of the trade on, let's say, an intraday basis, and about sort of kind of educating them, in terms of as you mentioned, kind of like raising their consciousness to realize that they are not their emotions, okay. Just because they may be experiencing fear or greed or hope, some of the really big emotions, just because they're experiencing that, you don't need to be completely, let's say, emotionally attached or emotionally involved in that emotion. It's possible to say, okay, I recognize. Do you know what? I recognize that I'm feeling fearful now. There might be, there'll be signals that will manifest themselves, maybe in a physiological sense, just maybe, maybe just, it psychologically, maybe just in the kind of the way you speak to yourself, or the images you hold in your head. Okay, it's about recognizing. Okay, I'm feeling fear now. I just need to be aware that in the past when I have felt fearful, I've acted in this way, and that's not always that's not always been the most conducive way. Similarly for greed, recognizing when you're feeling greed, recognize when you're feeling greed within yourself. It's more a case of about raising consciousness about those emotions and being able to work with them rather than to try and eradicate or completely remove them. I don't personally, I don't believe that. I don't believe that happens. Someone could prove me wrong on that, but from my experience, my own personal experience, and from working with hundreds of other traders, I don't think it's those emotions will always be there. It's about working with them rather than trying to kind of ignore them. Talked about everybody gets what they want from the market. That was a quote that was attributed to a chap, I think it's Ed Secoita. I never pronounce his surname right, Ed Secoita. That's how I pronounce it anyway. He was mentioned in the Market Wizards book. A fantastic trader, great chap, and anything else you'll read by him is excellent. And he basically came out and said that everybody gets what they want from the markets. And I remember the first time I read it, I got it, but over the years, as I've my own experience and from working with other traders, is actually I've realized exactly how true it is, how really true it is. Some people want action, some people want distraction, some people want revenge, some people want status, some people want some people want to the hurt, some people want the pain, and it's amazing trying to discover what each of the individual what is it they get what they want. I know I've worked with all sorts of people that actually, once you start to uncover that makes a big difference in terms of A, they're able to move towards profitability, or B, sometimes for those individuals it's a case of moving that maybe trading isn't the right path for them in their life, and they take what they've learned and moved on to something else. I know for myself, in terms of what did everybody gets what they want from the markets. I noticed that one of the things that kept coming back to me was kind of autonomy and responsibility. Okay, responsibility in terms of I actually really like having the responsibility of the trade sit on my shoulders. I kind of really enjoy it. I've done a corporate job, and where your boss is your fair weather friend. Okay, when you're winning deals, he's all over you like a cheap suit. Okay, and when you're struggling and you really do need help, then he's nowhere to be seen. Okay, and so one of the things that used to gripe me as in corporate life was if I won a big deal, then it was paying for my boss's wife's new BMW. Okay, and strangely enough, I didn't find that terribly motivating. Okay. So whereas in trading, no one forces me to pull the trigger on a trade. Okay, so when I put on a trade and that trade loses, there is nobody I can blame. Okay, I could try, but it's pointless. Okay, you know, the responsibility sits squarely on my shoulders. And on the flip side, when I trade well, you know, and I have, you know, positive trades, you know, the kind of the responsibility for having done that sits on my shoulders. And I kind of really enjoy that. I kind of, you know, I like it. I like it. And the other side being that, you know, I like the autonomy. Okay, I liked the ability to kind of like live life on my own, you know, on my own terms, you know, and that I find very, you know, I find it, I really enjoy that. You know, I get a lot of pleasure. I get a lot of pleasure from that, and I'm very fortunate that trading allows me to do that. Okay, in many different ways. So it is very, very true. I really do think it's true that, you know, people get what they want from the markets, and it's probably a good question for a person to ask themselves. You know, what is it they really want from the markets? They might say profits, okay, and everybody wants to profit, but actually you'll find that there's probably a deeper meaning and understanding that's waiting to be uncovered. So should a trader use their intuition? I think that I would view there as being kind of like three kind of levels associated with that. There's sort of a kind of mechanical trading, subjective trading, and intuitive trader. And lots of people come into trading thinking they're an intuitive trader, okay? But actually, intuition takes a long time to develop, okay? There's a great quote that is used that, you know, good judgment comes from experience. Unfortunately, experience tends to come from bad judgment. And that's very true in trading as well. So very often, you know, what we talk about is actually starting at one end of the spectrum, you know, and having a person doing mechanical trading. Maybe that might be, mechanical in a kind of manual way. So they're physically putting the trade on and just following a very, very simple mechanical system, okay? And what that will do is help to develop discipline in themselves and the ability to repeat the right processes. Some people will stay that level and try to automate their trading, okay, because they think that by automating their trading that they are eliminating their emotions from the trade. And maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. I think there's ways to look at that. But then I think once a person has done a period of mechanical trading and shown that they have developed discipline, they've developed consistency, and they've developed the ability to do the right thing to help themselves to build self-trust, then perhaps they might move on to an element of like subjective trading. So they may have a particular method, they may have a mechanical strategy, but there's an element of intuitive, starting to develop an element of intuitive ability within their trading. And then finally, you know, there are guys and girls who are, you know, I've seen and I've worked with who are, you know, you would truly call them, you know, intuitive traders, but I'm not convinced I've met a person who was born as an intuitive trader. I'm sure there are guys and girls out there who are. I'm sure they are. I just haven't come across them in my experience. But the people who I believe to be intuitive traders, you know, they've worked at becoming an intuitive trader. It's that kind of wealth of experience that has developed their kind of intuitive knowledge of how to engage with the market. And, you know, and I've met these people, but I don't think if I'd call any of them natural intuitive traders. It's something they've worked at over a long period of time. And when I say a long period of time, you know, we're talking, it could be like 10 years or so at working at that. Okay, so it's people come in thinking they're intuitive and they've got a good handle on it. The truth is actually it takes a long time to develop that kind of intuitive understanding of what the market's doing.